the day that the Easter Bunny comes. And she has. I think these claret produce the most amazing harvests. I wonder if that's purple chocolate in there. The Easter Bunny also, I think, has very magical powers, because after picking that cauliflower the other day, she's been able to make another flower grow. Even the plums are doing well this year. Lovely to see the strawberries now coming. This is an interesting variety. Rather seems as though this one's striped. Oh, and this is a new variety to us. This one is spotty. I knew we'd built this arch for some reason, Mrs. W. It's lovely to see such a nice day. Mrs. W can get her washing out on the line. Hello. The grandchildren did have an absolutely fantastic time. And the Easter Bunny, she really looked after them. Now, I'm just sowing some more spring onion. And it's one of those flavours that we particularly like. But of course, being a bunching onion and only really quite small, you do need a bunch of them. So for us, it's important that we do sow each month in order that we have that flavour available to us for most of the year. Now in today's programme, we should be taking a look at all the changes, all of the things myself and Mrs. W have been up to over the Easter break. Hello and welcome back to the No Dig Norfolk Gardener, and a very happy Easter to you. Now, for all of our viewers that don't live in the UK and watch us, Easter is a public holiday for us all. Easter is quite a nice one too, because we get two of them in the form of Good Friday and Easter Monday. For us, that means that we can get on with many of the jobs that we couldn't quite complete during the very cold February that we had, but neither in the very, very wet March we had. All will be revealed. Now Mrs. W has been busy, I see. She's sown the cucumbers. It's our old favourite, which is Pissandra. Does seem to grow very well, and it has all female flowers. So we don't have to worry about picking off all the male flowers, which if you grow traditional cucumbers, you have to do, otherwise the fruits become bitter. Oh, and the winter squash too. My, you have been busy.
I have, definitely.
But just to prove that I do things in this garden, I've got these zabroon seedlings to prick out. And I say that tongue-in-cheek because in an earlier video that we made, a little granddaughter was watching it along with us, and she said, "Look at all those things Nanny's done, Grandad." Well, don't you think Grandad was there helping as well? Now, one thing I am going to need is my glasses. That's better. I can see them now. Now, these are the, as I said, the shallots, the zabroon, that never germinated last year, but have this year. And what I'm just trying to do is to prick those out and get those down into these cells. Now, I do need to do this singularly, because when you grow shallots from seed, you are only going to get one shallot. My aim is to obviously have some to eat, because I've heard that they are really quite lovely, but more importantly to hopefully have enough that I get 20 odd bulbs that I can then plant in the autumn, so that in 2024, when that harvest comes along, it will react like the rest of our shallots and it will produce 7 or 8 bulbs for us. Now the Rudolph sprouting broccoli has come to an end, but I have to say it has been absolutely amazing. We've been having harvest of this since January, mid-January it came into flower, and it's only now slowing right up. We took the last harvest, but as you can see we have our claret, which are loving life at the moment. What it does mean is time to take these Rudolph out of the ground. And then we can actually start to prepare this piece of soil here, ready for the next planting. Now what we do is feed these to our chickens. They don't eat it all, but they'll take what they want, but in particular what they do like is to eat around whatever's left around the soil ball. And we think that's important to give them that piece of fun at the moment, because they are restricted. They have to stay in the run that we built. They didn't used to have a run, they used to have the run of the garden, well, the lower part of the garden. But now that they are restricted, I think it's important that we give them something that they like to do, which is to have a good old scratch away. Now those of you that do follow our channel, you'll know that a couple of weeks ago we actually sowed our first sowings of carrots. And another change in the garden is that they have germinated. Here we are. It's a really good row. They're not too close together. As I always say, when we sow carrot seedlings, inevitably you are going to have to thin. But this is sort of ideal at the moment. And where there's the odd one or two where they are too close together, when they get a little bigger than this, just come out here and thin them out. Another change that's taken place in the garden is that the last time you saw these tubs, we were planting our first earlies. You can see the way the soil is actually beginning to crack, that potatoes are now going to burst through. Indeed, if you look into the next bucket, there you go, there is the potato shoot.
Yay!
Another one come through there, and if you remember we planted 3 in here. So, that's really good news. Casablanca take around 10 to 12 weeks to harvest. If Mrs. W allows me to get away with it, it might be 8 weeks. Our broad beans doing really well, and we've utilised this old cloche that Mrs. W and myself, we made this a good 8 or 9 years ago, and you can see that the enviromesh is still pretty good. The odd hole or plucking it you see is not because it really has worn down. That'll be where I lay sharp things on it.
Naughty.
So I often lay things on here as I go to do another job. You see, and that's the beauty of this enviro mesh, you know, it does last a very, very long time. So those are a bit more expensive than some. At the end of the day, you do get value for money for it. Which reminds me, we are actually in the process of making a video at the moment about coverings, the different coverings we use, why we use them. So if you are new to our channel and more importantly new to gardening and you don't yet understand why different coverings are used, then do look out for that video. That should be out within the next, we hope, within the next couple of weeks or so. And if you are new to the channel and you want to know about that, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And of course also turn on your notifications, because then you'll be notified whenever we upload a video. However, back to the broad beans. This cover needs to come off now. As you can see, the flowers are there, and what we now need is the pollinators to get in. They cannot get in through the enviro mesh. Enviro mesh is very good for keeping things out, but it's not very good to let things in. Now, as you know, as you look around our garden now, we are moving on to using the blue pipes and covering those with the various covers. Principal reason for that is not because these aren't good at what they do. They are. But it takes two people to actually lift these wooden cloches. And so if I want to do something, I literally can't move this very well. Whereas using the hoops and just using stones or bricks just to keep the bottom of the cover down, all one has to do is just move those aside, lift it over, and you can get in there to either harvest, do some maintenance to the plants, or do some weeding. But as ever, Mrs. W's middle name is recycling. This shall have another life. We actually used to have 3 of these, and they were in different sizes. So this one would have been used for the cabbages, which only grow so tall. The next one would have been for things that grow a bit taller, like kale and calabrese. And then we had one sort of up here somewhere, which used to go over the sprouts and sprouting broccoli. And for those of you that have been on our channel for the last couple of years, since we started it, you go back to March of 2022, or was it February, wasn't it, when Storm Duncan and everything came through, that cloche actually broke. It broke all the plants. They were over there at the time. They broke all the plants, and this cloche was, the big cloche was completely broken. But as ever, Mrs. W found a way to be able to use that. Because also, if you remember, if you watched that video, the polytunnel was absolutely smashed to bits. The sides of that cloche are actually here to strengthen this up. They're on both sides, and in the main it has really weighted that down and stiffened it up. So it's a really good use for that. The other thing that we're trying to do at the moment is to revamp our compost bays. I've never had a roof on mine. We've always just covered everything, but that's proving to be difficult, especially these days where we don't just get a little bit of rain. When it decides to rain, it really rains. Soggy compost is not a lot of good. So we want to put a roof onto those compost bays. You can probably pick up in the background there that we already have that one in place. We're going to have the enviro mesh off that, and Mrs. W has another use for that enviro mesh, which you'll see later on in the year. But essentially we're going to use the frame, cover it, because we had some of this plastic that's on the polytunnel left over, and we can then use that to form a roof. And As you know, we built a pea arch. The year before we used these. But we don't want to waste these, so these are going to be attached to here. And then we're going to put the frame on the top. And that will then form the roofs for all of these bays. Now, you see this old shed of ours in most of our videos. It's been there for probably about 4 years now. We've decided to give it a different colour and to change the way it looks. There it is. That's just smartened it up, made it look a bit sharper, and that's another job that we've been up to over this Easter weekend. Another thing that we did is that we're always trying to find ways where we can to increase what we can grow. Now, clearly we can't get any more land. This is what we have. So how can we make the strip of land that we do have more productive? These are the questions I ask myself. Now, since you were last here, we put another row of brassica in here, which is a cabbage, a Savoy King. And everything in here will mature, well, let's put it this way, everything green in here will mature during the month of June and July. But they won't get to the size of a nice cabbage until that point. So what I've done is actually put some pak choi in here between the rows. So if you remember, I tend to plant the brassicas 20 inches in each direction between the rows and within the rows. So there's quite a bit of space there that's not used by these plants until they get a little bigger. The pak choi, they're growing on nicely. They were transplanted and a few days back now, and they've taken lovely. They're on their way, and hopefully we get some nice pak choi to be able to use with our stir fries in hopefully a month or so's time, month to 6 weeks. You can see they're already well advanced. What I don't know yet is whether that works, you know, because these will get to here, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it does. The other thing is that we've actually clossed some, like so. The air can get in there, we can water them. What we do sometimes find with especially the pak choi and lettuce is that they can often flop over. So we wanted to just try and see if we put these cloches over, that will help the plant and train it to grow more upright in its habit. So we'll see how that goes on. Look, Mrs. W, those grandchildren of ours think they can put one over us, but they didn't find this one that the Easter Bunny left. We can have that with our 11sies, can't we? Now, you often see this in the background, or maybe you don't, but I know there's a lot of eagle-eyed people out there, and as I say, this is always going away in the background there. And this is actually a homemade hot composter that Mrs. W made for me. I can take no credit for that whatsoever. She even managed to source the materials. So, and we've been using this really for the last year or so. And we are going to concentrate on making compost with a few videos that you'll get to see a little bit later on. As I say, we're just in the middle of filming it, and we'll show you exactly how we go about making our compost that we use to put over our no dig beds. And of course, when you no dig, the one thing you do need is your compost to be able to get over your plots. And as we all know, certainly us here in the UK anyway, you know, with the cost of living crisis that's been going on and is still continuing, the price of compost has absolutely gone through the roof. It's You can't believe just how expensive it is. So I would urge anyone new to gardening, and if you're thinking of starting gardening, before you even put a spade in the soil, before you even think about what seeds you want to sow, do build yourself a compost heap in whatever form it can be. Up till now we've always cold composted, so it's something that evolves. Yeah, and it can be very simple. Mrs. W spins around, you can see our compost bays here. All they are is just pallets. But just to give you an idea of what hot composting can be like, and to give you a bit of a tease before the videos come out, hopefully the camera's picking up all of that steam.
It's like a little sauna.
It is, isn't it?
A little mini facial.
It is indeed. And the good thing is, considering the materials that have gone in there, it smells really quite sweet. Now, Mrs. W has been very busy over this Easter break too, and she's made me a really nice cold frame. And again, you know, with her middle name being Recycle, everything here has had a previous life in this garden at some point. And one of the things that I've found with a traditional cold frame, which we've used before, is that because it's got glass on it, you need to open that to ventilate. And if you don't, those plants will just scorch in there. For us, if you remember those cauliflowers that we were looking at, was it 2 weeks ago? And I was explaining to you just how bad the start was for them. They were in our old style cold frame. Not so much to harden off because they went out in the summer, but more because, you know, there's so much going on the potting bench, and we don't want to take up the space in the polytunnel or the greenhouse, leaving a table in there, because we want to be growing things like tomatoes and cucumbers and aubergines and all the other lovely goodies that we put in there. So that means we want to put them outside where it's warm that time of the year. It invariably is. But of course, if it's a traditional one with glass, you've got a ventilator, and all of those butterflies can get in there and lay their eggs without you knowing, which is exactly what happened to us last year when we went away on holiday. They were where our cold frames were before, which was running down the side of the greenhouse. Unbeknown to us, we get back, and it was also it was actually a moth, wasn't it? The cabbage moth, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
Very tiny little.
really tiny little eggs, you know, when we popped them in the ground, you couldn't even see that anything had happened. Until some weeks later, during August, when the leaves started disappearing as large plants. So, hopefully, this will help solve our problem. We've got EnviroMesh over here now, so I don't have to open this up to the elements. Rain can get through, sunlight can get through, and it will remain relatively cool, probably cooler here than it would be if they were kept in the greenhouse or in the polytunnel. Just a couple of hooks, you say, Mrs. W, got to go in there?
Yeah, just hold it that tight.
Yeah.
Need to get those. That'll be finished.
Now the other thing that's changed, the big change, and has saved my life completely, because Mrs. W would not have been happy, is that we did manage to get some peas to germinate at long last. It's been a long road. And they have actually now gone into the ground. But what we have had to do was, like we did last year, was to put some netting around them just to keep the pigeons off them. There they are, ready to grow over our arch. And I can't think who it was who made the comment to us, but somebody put on the comment when we made this tunnel about perhaps we should have left these on the roof sticking up so that the pigeons wouldn't land. You know, that's a cracking idea, that is, and it is something that we are going to do. We simply haven't done it yet because, well, We haven't needed to. In fact, I didn't think we were going to get any peas at, at one stage. But we are going to get some more cable ties, tie them around and leave those tails sticking up so that the pigeons hopefully will think twice about landing on the top and eating the tops of those peas. I do hope that you have had a really good Easter break and hopefully got some jobs done in the garden with this extended long weekend. As you can see, we've been really busy. Do let us know in the comments down below what you've been up to, because we always do like to see what you've been up to. And you're all very good at that. And of course, we can all pick up ideas from everybody else. Poppy, I think we should go and see if those grandchildren have left any more goodies for us, don't you? Yes. We shall see you on the next one.